and they were kind of put on the back burner a little bit. And they were finding it hard to find producers. And since everything was kind of coming through my little studio, Andre was like, you know what, here, you got to work with them. And I'm like, I don't know anything about rap. And that's where he threw me with Eddie F. And, if you remember those records, it was a lot of R&B flavor to it. So
right.
Eddie said, all right, you do your R&B, and I'll tell you the ideas, of how to make it more rap. And it was me and Eddie together on half of that album. And that's how it came about. It was really Andre threw it at me. And you know what? I got lucky, And those girls knew their thing, and those girls would be in the studio saying, yo, Kyle, try this, try that. And it all came together, with all of us.
I don't know a lot of Finesse and Sequest songs, but I know that Soul Sister was one of my all-time favorite joints. And I don't have that song like on a CD or anything.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get it, but I go to, the videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
I go to YouTube and I watch the video just to hear the song. And so I never knew the production credits on that song, but I could listen to it and say that got to be Kyle West on the music. So
yeah, man, yeah. As I said, and then we worked with they worked with Sed G and them from Ultra Magnetic. They did the other side of the album, which was just straight up hip hop.
Okay.
And if you ask me, it was like 10 years before. Ahead of its time. So those different sounds really set apart on the project, So I just brought it more musical, and it all came together,
Yeah. And the girls, did you have complete control of that album? Was that like Kyle West's project, that whole girls album? Or
Yeah. It turned into that because I was working with the three of them before they were even a group. They were actually two separate groups. And, Andre Andre didn't mix and match. The three of those girls just kind of got together. And we had a lot of songs. I did songs separately with Terry, who was the lead singer, and Monica and Tara. They did separate songs, and we just brought them together. And then once, Andre said, y'all gotta, really just get in there and just dive into it. We would just go to him with the idea. We would, we demoed everything in my studio, and we would go to him, and he would just say yes or no. He didn't get into, change the lyrics, do this different. No, he just was like yes or no. Or what we cut, that was it.
Yeah, and Jam Jam is one of my favorite joints on that record.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you know what? The way it was done at Uptown as a whole, it was such a family way because there wasn't a lot of success yet. There wasn't a lot of money. We didn't know who to follow because there was really nothing like that before.
Right.
It was very family. We just got in in our little bootleg studios, and we just cranked out records. We stayed creative, and there was no, all right, well, let's try this idea. Let's use this producer. No, there wasn't no other people. So we pretty much said, look, this is how it's going. This is what we came up with, and if everybody was feeling it, that's what came out. That's what came out.
Do you still get a lot of questions of people talking about that In Effect Mode album and how classic it was? And because around that time, I think 87, 88, I kind of like the real big breakout years of New Jack Swing with Bobby Brown, New Edition, Al B. Shore, Keith Sweat, and the sound blew up. And do you still get a lot of people asking you about accolades and people telling you how much that album meant?
Yeah. It's scary, man. We're talking 19, 20 years ago now, and I'll be the first to say, I got in this business almost by accident, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing back then, and here I am 19 or 20 years better now, but still, that's my trade, that's my benchmark, and for some reason, somehow it became, a quote-unquote classic album. you know, we didn't know what we were doing. You know, we were just so green in the studio. It was just, you know, God was on, you know, behind us and said, look, just do what you do. And it just happened to come out that way. It is amazing how many people will come and still talk about, you know, what they were doing that summer, you know, and what they were driving and what they were wearing and what guy or girl they were dating. It's amazing that it did leave such a mark on the industry still 20 years later, you know.
Like I said before, I love that record. I love that album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. It's good to hear. It's good to hear this because, you know, I mean, you know, I'm used to hearing it, you know, and as I said, we got lucky, and you know, if today is my last day in the industry, you know, I left a little mark, and I'm glad the people out there, you know, made it that way. You know, I'm really glad about that. You know.
I know you mentioned before. You said you brought the classical side to it. Are you a classically trained musician, or?
No, you know, I learned music. You know, I mean, I was a piano player as a kid. You know, I learned from my dad. We always, you know, we had a piano in the house at all times, and you know, I learned how to play real music. You know, I can't read or write music, but I learned by ear, and that's the only way I could do it. You know, I mean, even to this day, I still producers and A&Rs will still have to say, "Now cut the music down," you know, because it's so progressive. But you know, but hey, at that time, you know, being able to layer music and layer melodies and sounds, that's pretty much what that album was all about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yep.
So we'll move on a couple years into the 90s. Al B. Sure's second project. I know you did some stuff with Ralph Tresvant, Tevin Campbell around that time. Mm-hmm. Al B. Sure started getting into a lot more production. I have a question. Jodeci.
Mm-hmm.
When Jodeci came to Uptown, and you know, Devontae is also one of my favorite producers. Mm-hmm. What element do you think that Devontae brought to New Jack Swing, or the progressive sound that was happening around that time?
Wow. Oh, wow, Devontae, you know, I always said was he was probably the most complete producer of all of us. All these names you're running off, Devontae was able to produce, write, perform, arrange, sing. There was no other producer that could do it all. He definitely took, you know, what I did, what Teddy did, his church thing he brought into it. He brought a lot of styles in, and he was very gifted and very gifted and very talented to be able to put it all together. Where it definitely he created his own sound.
Right.
Like he'd be the first to say, "Oh no, I got," you know. He used to come to the studio and just, you know, sound wise and, you know, all that stuff. He was like, "Yo, Kyle, you know, I just want to just vibe with you for a while." But still, he did all that. But still, when the finished product, it came out sounding like Devontae. You know?
Right.
So he was a product of all of us, but made it his own.
I mentioned
really talented dude too, really.
Yeah, definitely. I also mentioned Ralph Tresvant. How did that project come about? I know you did Girl, I Can't Control It and Love Takes Time off that album. How did that project come about?
Well, I got lucky. There was a trip I was out there in L.A. I was out there, you know, doing some Uptown business and ran into the late Louis Silas. You know, he was over there running MCA. He was running things. You know, he was the man. He had New Edition, you know, Bobby, Pebbles, Jody Watley, Loose Ends. He was the man. You know, Louis Silas, God rest his soul. And he saw me in the hall. He said, "Man, I've been looking for you." And I'm like, "Well, you got me now." He goes, "Look, I need some records from you. I'm trying to finish this Ralph Tresvant project, and you know, I got to get with you." So like a week later, I'm in New York. I'm in the office, and here's Louis Silas again. And he said, yo, I got the songs, and look, I want 1, 2, 3, you know, and he was, you know, there was no, like it is today, oh, let me run it through managers and this, no. He was like, 1, 2, 3, come out to L.A., cut the record.
Man.
So, yeah, he, you know, him, you know, and Benny Medina, let me throw his name in there, they were the kingpins. They didn't have to go through nobody back in the day to cut checks.
Oh, really?
So, oh, yeah, not like it is today, you know. So, so Lou put me on, and, you know, I just went out there with the track, you know, and he said, well, no, you got to get it written. And, to be honest, let me tell you, I gave one of the tracks to Ralph, and Ralph rarely wrote, and Ralph wrote, you know, Girl, I Can't Control It, you know.
Really?
He really did. And then, you know, Casey Haley from Jodeci and Terry Robertson helped him out a little bit. But that was Ralph's writing on that record.
Oh, man. I didn't know that.